Hi. Welcome to the Dragon's Den. My name is Leo Drake, and thank you for spending part of your day with me. Please consider subscribing as it is free and makes you a superhero. If you enjoy the video, click the like button and ring the notification bell to be notified when I post a new video. In this video, we are ranking Superman live action films. I will be discussing the movies during this video, so consider this your one and only spoiler warning. There are 6 movies in this list, so let's get to it. Number 6 is Superman 4, The Quest for Peace from 1987. I love Christopher Reeves and these original movies, and I wish I could make a case for this film being higher on my list, but I just can't. Lex Luthor escapes from a hard labour camp. He steals a strand of Superman's hair, which is able to hold 1,000 pounds of weight. The Daily Planet is under new management, and Superman is seeking to rid the world of nuclear missiles. Luthor plants his secret weapon on a nuclear warhead, and when Superman throws it into the sun, it becomes Nuclear Man. Superman is hurt from a scratch from Nuclear Man, and then later becomes sick after a dodgy fight on the moon. While the film has a good message and the cast is strong, the problems with the production sink this film to the bottom of my list. The script is weak, the special effects are some of the worst in any film ever made, and a cut to the budget means this movie cannot live up to the ones that went before it. Coming in at number 5 is Superman 3 from 1983. Gus Gorman, played by Richard Pryor, is out of work until he discovers an affinity for computers. He finds a way to earn money from his boss, Ross Webster, bringing him to the business entrepreneur's attention. Lois is sidelined in this movie, and Clark returns to Smallville to write a piece on his high school reunion. On his way home, he helps out at a chemical plant fire where Jimmy Olsen breaks his leg. Clark is reunited with Lana Lang and her son Ricky. Webster and his cohorts plan to use Gus Gorman's skill to corner the coffee market and use a satellite to affect the weather in Colombia, but Superman averts the disaster. Webster wants to stop Superman interfering in his business, so he orders Gus to identify kryptonite in space. The computer is unable to quantify the last piece, so Gus adds his own ingredient to create a different type of kryptonite that turns Superman bad. While Superman is AWOL, Webster builds a supercomputer designed by Gus in the desert. Clark Kent fights Superman to overcome the effects of the kryptonite. Superman realizes Webster is to blame and goes to the desert where he is faced by the supercomputer, which has gone rogue. Superman uses the acid from the chemical plant that is only dangerous when it heats up to trick the computer. The villains in this movie are pretty forgettable, and while removing Lois Lane may have made sense originally because of everything that happened in Superman 2, the heart of these movies is the relationship between Lois and Clark. Lana is an okay replacement, but it just isn't the same.
Welcome to the planet.
Number 4 is Man of Steel from 2013, directed by Zack Snyder. Man of Steel is quite a polarising film, with some people loving it and others hating it. Rather than going through the movie, I've listed parts of the film I like and those that I don't. First of all, I like Henry Cavill as Superman. The whole cast is pretty strong, with Amy Adams as Lois Lane, Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White, Diane Lane as Martha Kent, and Russell Crowe and Kevin Costner playing the dads. There is no Jimmy Olsen, which I could overlook, but something I cannot forgive is the omission of Clark Kent who we only see in the last scene of the movie. You can't have a Superman film without Clark Kent. I dislike the whole Fortress of Solitude scene and that Lois knows Superman before she ever meets Clark. Clark spends years in the Fortress of Solitude learning from his Kryptonian father. This is a huge part of the character which is totally glossed over in this movie. The Superman suit is really good. I like the S symbol standing for hope and representing the House of L. The special effects are really good, especially in the fight scenes. I don't like the look of Krypton in Man of Steel, as it looks like it was created by AI and resembles every planet from every other sci-fi movie you've ever watched. While Hans Zimmer is a masterful composer, the omission of John Williams' greatest score is my own personal kryptonite.
I'm here to help.
I like the ending to Man of Steel because both Zod's and Superman's purpose is clearly portrayed and can be understood. I do believe Superman would kill Zod if he threatened innocent people and the Earth. My last dislike surrounds the death of Jonathan Kent. I just cannot understand for the life of me why Clark would allow his father to die in a hurricane. I know Jonathan tells him to hide his true power, but it does not make any sense at all, because when Superman does reveal himself, the military and people don't trust him anyway. So not saving his father made absolutely no difference, and he saves a bunch of random people in the opening scene of the movie. I just feel that Clark would never have stood by and watched his father die. It's not part of his character. That is why Jonathan Kent's death from a heart attack is so good, because there is nothing Superman can do to save him. Overall, while Henry Cavill is a great Superman, he does not feel like my Superman. He may look like Superman and talk like Superman, but he does not feel like my Superman. You could even say he feels alien.
One way this ends, Cap. Either you die or I do.
Number 3 is Superman Returns from 2006, directed by Bryan Singer. I appreciate this film's attempts at continuality, although they do ignore the third and fourth films. Superman disappears from Earth when scientists believe they have found traces of his homeworld Krypton. Lex Luthor, played by Kevin Spacey, steals a fortune from an old lady and heads to the Fortress of Solitude, where he learns the secrets of Krypton and steals crystals.
Gods are selfish beings who fly around in little red caves and don't share their power with mankind.
Superman, played by Brandon Routh, falls to Earth. Krypton is gone and Lois Lane has moved on with her life. She is dating Richard White and has a son called Jason. Lois finally won a Pulitzer Prize for writing an article titled Why the World Does Not Need Superman. Speaking of Lois, she is on board a shuttle launch, which is affected by Luthor testing the power of his newfound crystals. This movie has some fantastic set pieces, and Superman saving the aircraft in the baseball stadium is outstanding. Superman reminds us that flying is still statistically the safest way to travel. Little things like that make a big difference to me and make it feel like Superman, which was missing from Man of Steel.
Statistically speaking, it's still the safest way to travel.
The movie does include the John Williams score. And also, how did Lois Lane survive for 5 years without Superman around to rescue her? Superman has an interview with Lois where he asks her why she wrote the article.
You wrote that the world doesn't need a savior, but every day I hear people crying for one.
Superman goes back to work protecting Metropolis, but misses Luthor's theft of a meteorite from Addis Ababa. Superman returns to the Fortress of Solitude, where he witnesses Luthor's handiwork. Lois and Jason investigate the blackout and end up on board Luthor's boat. Luthor reveals his plan to create a new continent, as the one thing they're not making anymore is land.
Wrong!
Luthor's thug threatens Lois, and Jason, who is a sickly kid, throws a piano at him. Lex places kryptonite around a crystal, which takes on the properties of nearby minerals and creates an island out of the sea. Superman helps the residents of Metropolis deal with the tremors. Richard is a pilot and takes a plane to rescue Lois. He finds Lois and Jason locked in the pantry, but they are unable to escape as the boat goes down until Superman saves them. Superman confronts Luthor, but the island is lined with kryptonite, leading to an uncomfortable scene where Lex's goons beat up a vulnerable Superman and throw him into the water.
So long, Superman.
Richard flies back to help Superman, and after Jason spots him in the water, Lois dives down to rescue him. Superman recharges in the sunlight and goes into the Earth's core to lift the island and throw it into space. Superman's strength is drained by the kryptonite and he crashes to Earth, where he is taken to hospital. Lois visits Superman and tells him he is Jason's father.
The son becomes the father, and the father the son.
Brandon Routh shows potential as Superman and Clark Kent, and it is a shame he only got one movie. The last act of this film is too long, and while the idea of introducing Superman's child is quite bold from a creative point of view, it made sequels difficult. Due to the high cost of the movie, we never got to find out, but I'm still a fan of this film. At number 2 is Superman 2 from 1980. Lois finds herself in the middle of a hostage situation at the Eiffel Tower in Paris. The terrorists are threatening to detonate a hydrogen bomb, which Superman disposes of in space. The explosive force frees General Zod and his minions from the Phantom Zone. Luthor escapes from prison and goes to the Fortress of Solitude, where he learns about his nemesis. Lois and Clark go to Niagara Falls for a story, and after Superman saves a boy who slips into the water, Lois is convinced Clark is Superman. Lois throws herself into danger, expecting Clark as Superman to rescue her, but to hide his identity, he frees a log to help Lois stay afloat. Back in the hotel room, Clark trips and his hand goes into the fireplace, but there is not a scratch on him. Lois learns the truth, and Clark wants to share all his secrets with her, so they fly to the Fortress of Solitude, where Clark gives up his powers to become mortal and live a normal human life with Lois. On their return, they stop at a diner where a bully beats up Clark. On the TV, they hear the news that Zod and his followers have taken over the Earth.
Oh my god!
Zod.
Clark walks back to the Fortress of Solitude, where he finds the green crystal from his capsule, and he regains his powers to face Zod. Luthor offers his services to Zod, who attacks the Daily Planet to get Kal-El's attention. Zod was imprisoned by Jor-El and has a vendetta against him and his line. Superman fights the three Kryptonians but is forced to flee to avoid collateral damage. Zod takes Lois and Lex along as leverage as they corner Superman at the Fortress of Solitude. Superman reveals his plan to Luthor, who immediately betrays him. Superman is forced back into the chamber, which takes his power away, but Kal-El was counting on Luthor to betray him and is safe in the chamber, while Zod, Ursa and Non lose their powers. Superman has to give up his life to protect his home.
And I'm jealous of the whole world.
Mario Puzo wrote the first two Superman films as one story, and the relationship between Lois and Clark really holds it all together. That means coming in at number 1 is Superman from 1978, directed by Richard Donner. I've mentioned the John Williams score, but I'll do it again here. The unique look of Krypton with the crystals makes an interesting alien world, and the special effects for this period of time were practically unheard of. We see Zod condemned to the Phantom Zone as Jor-El and his wife send their only son to Earth as Krypton is destroyed. The Earth's yellow sun gives Kal-El strength and makes him almost invulnerable. Martha and Jonathan Kent discover a young child and raise him as their own. Clark hides his abilities until Jonathan dies of a heart attack and Clark reaches maturity. He travels north where the green crystal creates the Fortress of Solitude, where he learns about his origins. At the age of 30, Clark Kent starts at the Daily Planet, while Superman arrives in Metropolis to stop crime and rescue cats from trees. Lex Luthor is a criminal mastermind and sees Superman as the ultimate opponent. Superman rescues Lois from a helicopter.
You've got me! Who's got you?
Superman and Lois fly together and he gives the reporter an interview explaining where he came from and why he is here.
No thanks. I never drink when I fly.
Lex Luthor obtains kryptonite before revealing his plan to blow up the San Andreas fault line. Brain beats Brawn as Luthor uses the kryptonite to neutralize Superman. Miss Tessmacher removes the kryptonite as Superman promises to stop the missile heading towards her mother's home before the one headed toward where Lois is. Superman stops the first missile and deposits it in space, but the second missile makes contact and Superman has to go into the Earth's core to repair the fault line. After rescuing a school bus and Jimmy Olsen at the dam, he is too late to save Lois, the one person he loves above all others. Despite being forbidden to intervene in human history, Superman flies backwards around the Earth to turn back time so he can save Lois, and Luthor is arrested. While I accept some people may not like the ending, this movie works because of the strong relationship built between Lois and Clark. Christopher Reeves is the greatest Superman because he excels in the role of Clark Kent. His confidence as Superman and clumsy awkwardness as Clark Kent is masterful. At the end, Superman smiles at the camera, breaking the fourth wall as he knows the truth that Superman from 1978 tops this list. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my list in the comments down below and which superhero you would like me to rank next. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, give it a like and share it. I'm looking to post a new video every Monday, so be sure to come back for that and click the link on screen to watch another of my videos. Until next time. Hoorah!